Hey, how's everybody doing today? And welcome back to another great episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk. And I'm really excited about this one. We're going to dive into a little WFM discussion today. And I have with me as today's guest Mark Alpern of Cinareo. Mark, welcome and thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to chat with me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Excellent, excellent. Well, for some of our viewers who may not know you or what Scenario is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what are you up to these days?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, for those who don't know me, my name is Mark Alpern, as Mark had just indicated, and I've got over 25 years of experience in the contact center industry. 15
Excellent.
years as a contact center professional, building and operating captive contact centers, as well as running large BPOs domestically and internationally. For the past 10 years, I have also worked as an executive consultant to public and private sector organizations in the field of business and service transformation, focused on contact center optimization. And most recently, having been immersed in the contact center industry for such a long time, you get to understand the challenges that organizations face in running their organizations, their operations.
Mhm.
And I'm a numbers guy, so I got focused on the power of workforce management and the important role it has in running an effective and efficient contact center. I was always frustrated by the lack of a good capacity planning tool in the market, which relegated companies to using spreadsheets, complex spreadsheets. So last year, my business partner and I started up a software development company called Cinareo, where we developed a capacity planning solution that eliminates the needs for complex spreadsheets and closes the gap found in many other WFM platforms on the market.
Excellent. Excellent. Um, as you mentioned, a part of the WFM discipline is really centered around capacity planning. If an organization misses the mark there, I mean, they could be pretty much hosed for a period of time. Um, can you share, based on your perspective and what you've done with Scenario, why capacity planning is one of the most critical components of building that WFM strategy?
It really is a fundamental component, WFM, in running a contact center. I mean, it involves determining the appropriate staffing levels and their skills needed to handle anticipated volumes of interactions, as well as back office activities. People often lose sight of that. And the primary goal of capacity planning, as I'm sure many of our viewers know, is to ensure that the contact center has the right number of agents in the right place at the right time to meet customer demand efficiently. Capacity planning, which is often overlooked, can also and should be extended to support staff, such as supervisors, trainers, quality assurance, and workforce management resources. And sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I was agreeing with you. I love how you broaden out the table to include those other functions within the contact center. Go ahead and continue.
Well, I was going to say that it's really important to understand that capacity planning is fundamental to running a successful contact center. I mean, it's used for resource optimization, as I said, finding the right people with the right skills, and cost efficiency, making sure they're in the right place at the right time at the right cost, ensuring that you don't overstaff or understaff. It's imperative from a service level and customer experience and an employee experience perspective, workforce productivity, adapting to variability, i.e. seasonality, and as well as in technology and infrastructure planning. So capacity planning really is at the heart of running an efficient contact center operation.
I love it. Um, so with your product scenario or your platform scenario, um, what problems does it really, aside from as part of the capacity planning, process, how does it help uh, WFM professionals solve a problem? Or what are the problems specifically that it's helping them solve?
Well, I think there's several problems that it helps them solve.
Mhm.
One of the key problems is ensuring that you have an accurate plan that has all the requisite data inputs And Cinareo is a really user-friendly wizard interface that leads the planner, whether you're a novice or a seasoned professional, through a step-by-step process to gather all the required information to prepare an accurate plan. So, in addition, it saves time in the development of capacity plans. It eliminates the use of spreadsheets and complex calculations. In fact, our clients are telling us that they're saving upwards of 75% of their time in using Cinareo that frees them up to perform other workforce management related tasks. We've also
Oh,
touched on cost savings because it reduces risk. You know, Scenario has been rigorously tested to ensure the accuracy of the output, and we have come across organizations using our tool that, or before using our tool, believe that they were grossly understaffing or overstaffing to the point where it was costing them millions of dollars in revenue or over expending. It also improves collaboration. So where you've got a Excel spreadsheet, you've got to share it if necessary through email or other sharing solutions. Whereas with Cinareo, it is an application or a SaaS-based application that any authorized person can access and be working in the tool at the same time. And
excellent.
lastly, one of the really cool things that I think is grossly underused from a capacity planning perspective is it supports data-driven decision making. What do I mean by that? So in Cinareo, we've given the users the ability to run multiple what if scenarios. They can change any of the variables that were used in their base assumptions and do a side-by-side comparison. This is incredibly useful when you're looking at calculating your return on investment for continuous improvement initiatives. Say you're implementing a new knowledge management platform, for example, and you want to understand or test the impact that it'll have on average handle time savings. Well, Cinareo will do that for you. And the output will be measured in terms of improved service level or a reduction in the number of FTE that are required to support that channel.
You know, and I think with how it could potentially play into attrition because uh the number one question that a lot of contact centers will get, a lot of leadership will get is, okay, you want this tool, this new tool, but what are you going to give up um, in exchange for it? And typically, people come back to staffing, and bringing in a tool like Scenario, can definitely be that storyteller of, hey, if I go ahead and bring in this new knowledge base or this new knowledge management system, or adjust some things with AI, as an example. And this is the lift that I anticipate it's going to get. It can really help an operations leader tell a story to your finance people, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, attrition is one of the most significant costs, aside from shrinkage and non-productive time associated with
Mhm.
running a contact center. Staff costs are typically 80% of a budget within a contact center operation. And using Scenario, you can model what your ideal occupancy is, so that you're not burning out your agents, which is one of the key drivers for attrition. Um, on the flip side, CFOs love our tool as well because they can test the impact of a budget reduction. Say, for example, you need 500 people and they're telling you to take a 10% haircut off your budget. Scenario will tell you what the impact is from a service level, average speed of answer, and occupancy perspective.
I love it. I love it. And obviously, the occupancy goes up, burnout increases, attrition increases, and it becomes a snowball effect. And Scenario can really help tell that story of the what ifs.
Exactly that.
Yep. Um, so when for a company that may be new to workforce planning, and I think if you're in the contact center, I mean, some days it's just like survival. Phones are ringing, emails are coming, texts are coming. There's chats that are waiting, and so you're more in the here and now. But how should an organization incorporate scenario into their workforce planning, um, strategy on a daily, weekly, monthly basis?
Well, thanks for that question. I mean, we gave a lot of thought to who our personas were, so to speak, in using a planning solution such as Cinareo.
Hmm.
And there's three key types of people within a contact center that could benefit. One is the workforce planner, without question, and
Hmm.
operations management in more general terms. The other is the CFO and financial analyst, and the third is the HR and recruiting teams. So let me explain.
Yeah.
So it's first off, I think I mentioned it's a really user-friendly, intuitive platform with a
Hmm.
step-by-step wizard. And so the adoption of the tool is quick and easy. But the platform not only allows users to develop uh, resource plans,
Hmm.
right, by skill, by channel, but also financial forecasts and KPIs such as cost per contact by channel. That's
Hmm.
important and useful for operations management and financial analysts within the organization. And in addition, our HR and recruiting teams benefit greatly from the recruitment and training planning capabilities within Scenario, where you can literally identify based on the attrition assumptions, identify when you need to start the recruitment process, when they need to be in class, and how many trainers you need to support the number of new hires based on some graduation assumptions that are also part of the tool. So it can be used by many people within the organization, uh, all towards the successful operation of the contact center.
I absolutely love that, that you're bringing all these different, typically in especially larger organizations, your mid to large size organizations especially, you typically have a lot of silos that are operating. Um, and this really brings a tool that brings everybody together, to go ahead and be, um, for lack of better words, singing off the same sheet of music.
Absolutely.
you know
Absolutely. I like the way you put it in terms of breaking down those silos.
yeah. And there's organizations that have a lot of silos, even though they don't want to admit to it. But there are a lot that still operate in silos, and you one team can't see what I have in this magic box and whatnot. Um, but
Exactly.
where do you see organizations missing the mark today when it comes to making good workforce planning decisions?
Well, it's interesting because, having been in the industry for 25 years and,
Hmm.
making my own mistakes as an ops leader and then as seeing what other people are doing right and wrong
Uh-huh.
in contact center as a consultant. One of the big things is they're not using capacity planning in any formalized way. They
Okay.
may do some back of the envelope math once a year to
Hmm.
estimate the number of agents, but there's no disciplined process to conduct capacity planning on a consistent basis. And it should be done on a frequent basis. It's not just a once and done, once a year type of activity. It's
Hmm.
preferably monthly. We made scenarios so easy to use that it takes just a few minutes to update the capacity plan assumptions with any projected changes in volume, average handle time, shrinkage, attrition, and other factors. So there's no
Yep.
reason you can't use it on a regular basis because the more refined your plan is, the more accurate the outcome, the better the outcome in terms of customer and employee satisfaction.
Yeah,
I find
because
that
Mark. Oh, I was
sorry.
gonna say, I was just gonna offer. I love how you put that there. It should be looked at more frequently than just once a year, because budgets aren't just looked at once a year. You don't set them and go. Uh,
Exactly. Things change, things happen. And
uh-huh.
so scenario allows you to model both monthly or weekly at the weekly level and get down to the daily level So if there are changes in the call arrival patterns for some reason,
Mhm.
if you're seeing a campaign that marketing is launching, in a month's time, it's very easy to update what the potential impact is going to be to the contact center using Cinareo. Another area that I see a lot of organizations struggle with is particularly with data inputs around shrinkage or non-productive time.
Mhm.
It's almost like a black box. Some companies will just throw a 20% number at it without really understanding what are the drivers of shrinkage. And, it's a really expensive overhead. It's a cost of doing business in a contact center, but few organizations really understand what they should be tracking. And we've done a lot of research on shrinkage and based on input from our existing clients and our prospects for that matter.
Mhm.
We've identified a long list of overheads that many organizations don't contemplate. They don't consider seasonality associated with different shrinkage factors. For example,
Mhm.
vacation and sick time. You can't just say that my vacation is going to be 8%, 10% across the board month over month, when in reality, it'll rise and fall with the seasons. Summers are typically higher for vacation. Similarly, sick time. Sick time is higher in the winter than it is in the summer. Or in some organizations, it's got its own life, and you need to track and trend so that you can actually predict the future.
Yes. The the thing I like about that is, being able to look at it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, to see how good you are, from a capacity planning standpoint, and then, and then, the shrinkage piece is really interesting, because I agree with you. A lot of companies will go ahead and say, well, they'll focus more on service level, but not the underlying components of what creates that service level. Um, and I'm sure you'll get this. Well, what's industry standard? And my response typically, I don't know about yours, but mine is typically, um, not no two companies are the same. And so what works for one company and their customers typically won't work for your company or your customers. And so that's what I think we're starting to see some, 70 60s and 90 10s, and it's all over the board, but all of that is getting to, the capacity planning conversation. If I want to get to a 90 10 or a 70 60, I need a tool like Scenario to say, okay, what's it going to cost me to get to this?
So you picked up on a really important point that's actually a favorite topic, one of the favorite topics of mine, and that is around uh, diagnostic measures versus KPIs. And in
Mhm.
some places, it's called an accountability framework, where you have a set of corporate KPIs that might focus on productivity and cost factors, but there's a
Mhm.
whole bunch of diagnostic measures, such as shrinkage,
Mhm.
that help you understand why certain KPIs are performing as they are. And shrinkage is certainly one of those that can impact customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, service level, and
Mhm.
occupancy, and a host of other metrics.
Yes. I love it. So what will Scenario do for an organization versus what it won't do?
So we have really focused Scenario on contact center capacity planning, budgeting, recruitment, and training planning. We are not
Mhm.
a workforce management suite. We don't do
Yep.
scheduling. We don't do real-time management. We don't expect to be, because there's a lot of good platforms on the market today that do a fine job. But there is a gap, and has been for a long time, in the capacity planning and budgeting space, particularly when you take the approach that we have. Um, and and so it'll become even a more powerful tool in the near future, as we're in the process of building APIs for connections to leading CCaaS and premise-based contact center platforms and WFM solutions as well. So we'll do some of the heavy lifting, taking data feeds on the input side, and also data outputs into WFM platforms directly.
That is awesome. It fills that strategic planning gap that uh, doesn't have any consistency.
No,
Uh,
exactly.
I love that. I love that. So, Mark, we've got to the point of our conversation. I like to call it the speed round. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Well, before we get started on that, I just want to say, hey, I've taken some demos of Cinareo. It's absolutely amazing what the platform can do, and I know you have a lot more iterations and some improvements that are going to be going on with it, over the next few months, and as you're ready to talk about those and whatnot, we definitely want to have you back on talking about some of the improvements, continual improvements that you're going to be making with it.
Thanks, Mark.
So
I'd love to do that.
excellent. So, as someone who's had a very successful professional career, I'm particularly interested, and I ask all my guests this.
Okay.
Uh, so, at this stage of my career, I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self, like, and how would that have helped you navigate your career um, more efficiently, more effectively, or just navigate it in general?
I typically don't like to think backwards. I always like to think forwards. But if just the question is really interesting. I guess if I could go back in time and tell my younger self, it would be to take more calculated risks. I was always risk averse, and
Okay.
don't be afraid of failure because from failure comes learning. And the industry we're in right now, not so much the consulting industry, but the software industry in particular,
Mhm.
is full of risk and not for the faint of heart. So I think it probably would have prepared me better for the journey that we're currently on with growing Cinareo to its full potential.
Excellent. And I see you guys having a very high ceiling on this. Just an FYI. And others that I've spoken to in the WFM discipline share that opinion as well, without naming names. So, um, so what fact about Mark would people be most surprised to learn about you?
I don't know. I don't often like to talk about myself, quite frankly. Um, Maybe one of my personal recent successes is I completed a doctorate only 3 short years ago in the area of information management systems and specifically on the critical success factors for successfully implementing e-government web services. So going back to school at that age, at my age, is was a challenge to balance family, professional, and academic activities. But I did it and couldn't be happier about the journey I went on. And quite frankly, it teaches you to think differently, more broadly, not so myopic. And it's been tremendously advantageous as I embark on the journey of starting this software company.
You know, uh, I hadn't mentioned that I should be referring to you as Dr. Alpern,
That's quite all
but
right.
but no, I think that's a tremendous accomplishment. As someone that's gone back to school himself, I hats off to you, my friend.
Thank you
You
so
know,
much.
it's a challenge, and especially working at doctorate level stuff. So, um, so at the end of the day, and I'm sure you have stressful days. Uh, nah, it's a piece of cake. So, what's your go-to tactic for unwinding after a stressful day?
Well, that's a pretty easy one. I've got two black labs named Oliver and Willa. They're full of energy and love to play and cuddle, so it's a great way to unwind after a stressful day, honestly.
Excellent,
They'll
excellent.
cut through anything, any stress.
And now, are they at the age where they still have the zoomies? Or
They're 5 and 4, and they still have the zoomies, particularly the 4-year-old. She's
yes.
just a whirlwind, a little Tasmanian devil.
I absolutely love dog zoomies. It
It's
uh,
hilarious.
you just want to like stick a video camera somewhere you can just keep an eye on them, and you never know what your next TikTok content will be or something like that. So,
Exactly.
well, cool. Well, one last question for you, Mark, and I know I'm hoping that we piqued a lot of interest in the subject of workforce planning here, and aside from, reaching out to myself or you on LinkedIn, how should someone get in contact, with us to get a demo of Scenario, learn a little bit more about, what it does, how it does it, and things like that.
We're always happy to give demos, and the best way to reach us is to go to our website at cinareo.com, cinareo.com, and click on the book a demo button. And that'll
Excellent.
take you to a Calendly link that will put you straight into my calendar, and you can book a time at your convenience.
Mark, I'm going to throw this out as a contest for anybody watching this episode, and I'm going to say the fifth person or the fifth organization that books a demo with you, and we'll keep each other honest on this.
We will.
The fifth one that books a demo, I'll go ahead and throw in a $50 Amazon gift card. How's that sound?
That's wonderful. And we'll
Yeah,
match it.
excellent, excellent.
Thank you.
Well, my pleasure, my pleasure. I as I said at the beginning, I love the platform when I first saw it. I think it has some amazing intelligence that can be brought to strategic planning that isn't necessarily out there and available, in the market right now. And I know you and your co-founders put a lot of thought and time and energy into this, and I just want to say it's hats off to you. I think it's a great platform.
Thank you so much. I
Um,
really appreciate that. It's high praise coming from somebody I respect.
I appreciate that. So thank you again very much. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, talking a little scenario with me. And if you like this episode, please go book a demo with Mark and the scenario team, and he'll walk you through this. It will blow your mind once you see it. And think of the art of possible that you don't actually have within your organization today. And the scenario tool will definitely go ahead and get you thinking in a different way. And with that, Mark, you have yourself a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and whatever you celebrate out there. And to all the viewers, if you like this video, like I said, book a demo with Mark, and we'll go ahead and get you some gift cards, out as well. And like this video, share it with your friends, your families, and let's continue the conversation after the new year, Mark. How does that sound?
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. It's been a
All
pleasure.
right. All right. Have a great day.
You as well.